Hi, I'm Ken Bone, and you're watching WutV.
What's our premier sport?
Beyond the finance.
David Gummins here with the renowned Ken Bone. Ken, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm glad to be here.
No, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. So, you were an undecided independent voter at the second presidential debate, which was held right here at Washington University in St. Louis. What was that experience like?
It was crazy. Being contacted by the Gallup poll at random and asked to come and participate was a shock. I thought that I was just going to get tickets to sit in the audience. Then they told me I'd be sitting on the stage and maybe get to ask my question. Wow. And thankfully I did. And ever since then, it's been a surreal experience. I think this is day 23 of doing interviews for some reason.
Wow. So I guess I'm going to divide that into two parts. What prompted you to come up with your question?
Well, I work in the energy industry. I'm a control room operator at a coal-fired power plant. And when you say that, people start thinking you're like a Captain Planet villain, that you hate the environment and want to dump garbage in the water. But we're actually very concerned about the environment, but we also don't want to be put out of work. So we're looking for a candidate with a real long-term plan on how to integrate renewable energy and what to do with the workers that are currently in fossil energy.
Cool. Well, how'd you feel about the candidates' responses?
Well, I thought Mr. Trump's answer was good for my career and my job security. Because he's not really into environmental protection as much. It's not part of his platform. And Secretary Clinton's answer I thought was really good, but I did look at her website just as she had asked me to, and it's not a very solid plan. Like, there aren't very many details, and I know that maybe that can come later, but there's not much to assuage the fears of people who are looking at losing their jobs.
Okay, well, be it after the debate or anything, have you had the chance to interact with them at all? Or?
Well, immediately following the debate, I got to shake hands with Secretary Clinton, and she was very nice, very cordial, which I thought was great because my question was a little tougher for her than it was for Donald Trump. Mr. Trump was on the other side of the stage, so I didn't get to him before security whisked him away. I did get to speak with former President Clinton. I would have voted for him if I hadn't been 14 years old. He was a really nice man.
Nice. So I guess looking back, would you change anything?
No, I don't think I would. I'm glad that I was a part of it and that I've had this platform to encourage people to go out and vote and do my part for charity and for the community.
So speaking of having that platform, we've noticed that you have become a huge sensation on the internet, on different news shows, but it doesn't really seem like you're pushing any specific issue. You're definitely not pushing any specific candidate. Is that a conscious decision,
Yeah, I've been contacted on like the local and state level by both major campaigns and several third-party campaigns, and I've told them all I'm not endorsing anyone in any race, even some of the local politicians that I know personally and believe in. I won't be endorsing them because I trust America to make up its own mind. You have enough voices out there telling you who to vote for. I just want to tell you to go out and be involved. I got to have my voice heard through random chance, and going to the polls on November 8th is your chance to have your voice heard too.
That's very inspirational for people there. So kind of, not everyone gets a chance to be the star that you've become. So I have to ask, when did you first realize that you made it? Was there a specific moment that stood out?
Well, when I was here for the debate, we were here for 14 hours at Washington University because of all the security and being sequestered from the media so nobody would be able to influence what we would ask. So our phones mine was locked in my car. You couldn't have it with you. When I got back to my car and turned my phone on, my friend called me just as it was powering up and started reading me articles about me in the New York Times and on BuzzFeed and Uproxx, and I thought he was messing with me until I got home and saw myself on television, and people were talking about me a little less, or a little more than they were even talking about the debate, which in a way was kind of troubling. I'd rather we were talking about issues, but it's been fun. It's been a fun platform to get out and get people debating about what they care about.
I think one of my favorite moments was when I saw you spoofed on SNL. How did that feel?
That was fun. I thought it really captured the meteoric rise to fame for no particular reason, and the consequential drag through the mud by some of the underbelly of the internet. And it was all in good fun. I thought it was a good piece.
So kind of off of that, in such a vitriolic period where a lot of the major news sources are talking about all of these minutia conflicts, like how small a candidate's hands are and other such ridiculous things, why do you think people have fixated on you as our unsung hero? Your sweater and most recently your Reddit comments. What has caused the shift in media reporting and fixation? Well,
when a campaign goes on for 2 years, people get tired of hearing about it, especially when it seems to be nothing but sniping and negativity on both sides. So here's a guy that kind of looks like your favorite uncle from when you would go to Christmas as a kid, and they just realized that I was somebody that could have kind of a positive message, but could also have fun with himself a little bit. As long as it's all in good fun, I don't really care if people are poking gentle fun at the sweater or the mustache or whatever. At least it gets them talking about being engaged in politics.
Yeah, so I guess in terms of people's engagement in politics, at what point, so given the current political situation and the way it is, the candidates are the ones who guide the discussion, and the media choose what's reported, and we have to choose what we input based on, what we watch. But who really is the change maker? Who is at fault for how things have gone to be the way they are?
It's us as individuals. Gizmodo and Gawker and the discussion about Donald Trump's hands, and those things don't exist if you don't click on them. If you don't pay attention to them, they go away like the monsters under your bed when you're a kid. So that's a really hard tide to turn, because it's easy to print negative things and rush out, attack articles on whoever the flavor of the month is. But it's hard to get people to not pay attention to it. Entertainment journalism is almost as big an industry as legitimate journalism is these days, and the two are so intertwined. It's hard for legitimate journalists like yourself, like you guys are trying to be, studying to be. It's hard for you to get your voice heard, and the temptation to throw some clickbait article out is overwhelming, because it's hard to get funding and get airtime without it.
So speaking of clickbait, I have to ask you about your Halloween photo. Let me see. It was the Obi-Wan Ken Boney?
Obi-Wan Ken Boney. I had the Jedi robes from the last 2 years. I love Star Wars. I'm a big nerd. I know that shocks you, America, but it's okay.
We're all nerds at WashU,
yeah,
too.
Fabulous. I love it. But yeah, I thought it might be fun to put the robe on over my Ken Bone getup with the sweater that I've been wearing for all these media things. And I just posted it on Reddit thinking maybe people would think it was funny. And all of a sudden it was at the top of the front page. And I really don't understand why.
So in other Halloween costumes, what do you say to the fact that you've reached the status where you are a Halloween costume? Now I didn't dress as sexy Ken Bone, but I'd say I looked really good dressed as you this Halloween.
Everybody that dressed as Ken Bone was dressed as sexy Ken Bone, because there's no separating.
That's the way to go. Please tell my friends that. No, it was a really fun thing, and I had a lot of great comments, so I appreciate you giving me the chance to take on your likeness.
Sorry, Left Shark. Sorry, Harambe. There's a new game in town.
Whoa, those are fighting words. So kind of moving back, you just mentioned, being on the Reddit front page. So my question would be, you've addressed in the past why you ended up using your personal Reddit account for the AMA, but now most recently you've actually received Reddit Gold for joking about it, and I think it was what is one of your biggest things not to do on Reddit. But is there anything else you'd like people to know about why you did the AMA and kind of how your presence on the site is going to be moving forward?
Before I went to the debate, I was just talking with my friends at work the day before, like, hey, maybe I'll do an AMA after this is over, and maybe a couple hundred people will look at it. And then all of a sudden, the AMA request for Ken Bone a few days later was really near the top of the front page. So I decided, I'll go ahead and do it. I had partnered with a T-shirt company that was selling Ken Bone T-shirts at the time. I was like, well, I can plug that since I give part of the proceeds to charity, and I'll do the AMA. And it never even crossed my mind to not use my own Reddit username because I really underestimated how many people would be looking, I guess. I've always been pretty transparent. I don't have anything to hide, and the people that want to dig through my comment history and try to make it seem that 5 or 6 comments made over the course of 2 years define me as a person, it's not really true. I'm just a regular guy, flaws and all. Sometimes I say things that are dumb. I say jokes that don't land, or maybe I even have opinions that aren't that popular. Well, that doesn't define me as a human being.
I couldn't agree with that more. And we're going to get to your charity that you're plugging in 1 second, but kind of follow up on that is, yes, people have gone through your history. They found some interesting comments from, very few over the course of a couple of years. But you said that you were just a regular guy. But do you think then if, you were a celebrity, whether or not you consider yourself as such, but people who are in the public sphere, should they be held to a higher standard in their personal lives, or?
I don't think so. I wish there was more transparency so that we could see that these people we put up on pedestals, whether they're movie stars or or athletes or politicians, they're just regular people, and they're going to make mistakes. And maybe if we saw them as regular people more often, we wouldn't go so overboard and freak out when something bad comes out about them.
Cool. So going back to your charity, could you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, everything I've been able to raise for charity so far has gone to St. Patrick's Center. It's a Housing First initiative right here in St. Louis. They take homeless people who come to them for help, and the first thing they do is get them into permanent housing. They work with a lot of, I think it's over 200 local landlords, and they get you into a stable home. And then from there, they help you with job training, and if you have substance abuse problems or mental health issues, they help you with that. It's about a year-long process of getting you into a stable home and helping you get back on your feet, rather than dangling housing as a carrot in front of you. Like, if you get clean and you do this, then we'll give you a place to live. They say, you know what, let us help you with a place to live. And having that stability in your life will help you with whatever the root cause of your homelessness was.
Cool. You want to share with our viewers, the best way to donate?
Yeah, you can go to stpatrickcenter.org, stpatrickcenter.org, and donate online. Or if you're here local in St. Louis, they would love to be able to show you a little bit about their programs, and obviously they would love to accept a few dollars from you. Every little bit helps. If you can donate $1, that's great. If you can donate $1,000, that's also great. But they do a lot of good for a lot of people. They've served over 12,000 meals just since August. They never turn anyone away for food, and they accept as many people as they have budget for housing. It's one of the best charities in the area.
Cool. So bringing this kind of full circle, do you consider this a blip in your life and something that, in a couple weeks will go away, or has this changed everything moving forward? Every
morning I wake up and I think that it already has gone away, and then the phone rings again. I don't really understand why people want to continue hearing from me. I do, you get a lot of comments like, your 15 minutes of fame are up. Well, there's a button you can press on Twitter and you never hear from me again. I just disappear. But instead, more people are following me all the time. And I think they just want to hear from a regular guy. They're tired of hearing negative stuff from politicians. They just want to hear the opinion of a regular human being. And when that's over, which I suspect after the election it'll probably be over, then it's over. I've got a family and a house and a career that are still waiting for me. My career's waiting for me more than anything. I've used up all my vacation for the rest of the year. But yeah, I don't really see myself doing anything. Some people have asked me to start a YouTube channel, but I don't know what it would be about. Maybe I'll consider it, but I don't really see that it will be that entertaining.
You won't just make, youtube.com/thebonezone?
Yeah, why not? I just don't know what I could talk about for 10 minutes at a time that would hold people's attention.
I mean, you've done how many interviews so far, and people are still captively listening to your every word?
About 100, but I don't know if you're lucky number 100 or not. I'd have to look at my agent, which is a spiral notebook I keep in my bag.
Very nice. Those are the top quality.
Yeah, it's college ruled,
yeah,
so I'm educated.
Good, good. Well, I mean, those agents are harder to screw you out of your money.
Yeah, I don't have to give it 10%. Good.
So I kind of want to bring it back and say, after the election, do you plan on letting the interested communities know who you voted for? You're going to stay kind of out of that?
I'm not going to tell anybody who I voted for. I'm going to throw my support behind whoever gets elected president, because we've got enough divisiveness and nastiness through this incredibly long election cycle. So whoever the president is, I'll be publicly asking everyone to please support them. And maybe 2 years from now, when we're having our midterm elections, the local paper will call me, hey, you remember when you used to be famous? You want to be part of an article? And I'll be able to plug my voter initiative again, get everybody out and vote. But if I tell anyone who I voted for, then that opportunity goes away. All of my chance to do anything positive goes away. And 50% of America just hates me because of who I voted for, which is kind of what's wrong with the political process.
So you've talked a lot about the political process, how people aren't honest, we need more transparency. So if you could redesign our entire political climate, how would you do it?
Well, I think a lot of it starts with us as individuals. That's why it's so hard to get away from it. Because it used to be, when I was in high school, I could say something like, I think we should move to single-payer health care because all these health insurance companies are, it costs too much and it's inefficient. And then somebody would say, no, well, the government can't run the DMV. How do you expect them to run the hospital? And then maybe we'd talk about it for 10 minutes, and then we'd go back to watching baseball. And that would be the end of it. Now, if we had that discussion, we couldn't be friends anymore at the end of it. We've become so hateful and so divisive. And the media doesn't feed that. It feeds from it. Like, it sees the climate that we have, and it gives us more of that. And so it's kind of a feedback loop we're in now. So it's going to have to start with people as individuals. When you run into someone who doesn't agree with you politically, just shake hands at the end. You don't have to change anybody's mind. I don't agree with everything President Obama does, but he seems like a great guy who wants the best for the country. So good for him. I'm glad he's in leadership because he wants to do what's best. I don't have to agree with him to acknowledge that he's a good person.
He hasn't tried calling you, has he?
No, I'll probably be at the White House Correspondents' Dinner in the spring.
Wow.
So as the former president, maybe he'll be there and I'll get a chance to meet him. That would be maybe the pinnacle of it. That'd be fun.
Can you snag me an invitation?
I don't know how I got me invited, so I don't know how to get anybody else invited either.
Did you see the video? Do you know Chelsea Handler?
Yeah, I've seen her show before. Some of the things she said about me were very kind, we'll say. My wife didn't appreciate them as much.
Yeah, so I guess you're not giving her a call anytime soon?
No, I think she's probably withdrawn her support for me anyway. She's gotten tired of me by now. But yeah, I'm married to the best person I've ever met, so I definitely won't be giving anyone else any time.
I think that is the right answer, and we totally didn't set you up for that. That said, is there anything else you'd like to share with us about this whole experience?
Just make sure you're wearing clean clothes when you go out, because apparently if you get photographed at the right time in the right place, you'll be the next meme on the internet. And if you try to steer the conversation, in any direction, then you'll quickly become the bad guy. So if it happens to you, just be yourself. And if you don't like being famous, delete Twitter and change your phone number, and it goes away.
Cool. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciated it. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for having me.